Welcome, everyone. We are really glad that you could join us today for this kind of unprecedented webinar. It's a little bit different. We're all dialing in from our homes, as we're sure that you're doing the same, and very excited to have everyone on today. As we get everyone logged in, there's a couple housekeeping items we want to do. We'll make some introductions here shortly, but the first thing is, just because you're remote, just because you're on mute, doesn't mean we don't want your participation. We absolutely want you to participate. We want you to say things. We want you to talk. We want you to participate in any way that you can. And the best way to do that is through the chat or questions field. So if you'll find that in your GoToWebinar control panel and chat with us, I'd like to know, are you working from home right now? And if so, where are you dialing in from? So chat in there. We've got lots of people answering our chat questions today. Whitney White and Kelsey Wing on the marketing team. We've got Kevin's entire technical account management team on the line. So we're all ready and excited to answer your questions and handle the things that we're going to talk about today. So Whitney, is everybody coming in okay? Can they hear us okay?
Yes, we're coming in okay. We've got a couple people saying that the handout won't load. I'm working on that. Give me just a minute and I'll drop a new one down in there. But we've got people from Pennsylvania, Salt Lake City, Colorado, Manitoba, Texas. Lots of people working from home. It seems like we're all in the same boat.
Yep. In fact, there's a couple things I'd like to do. There's some polls that I'd like to launch and just kind of, have you guys talk through and share with us a couple things. I'd like to know, first off, in the last 2 weeks, is your business up, down, or the same? We're hearing lots of different reports from customers all over the place, and we're curious to know what that is like for you and how that's affected your business. And again, just thinking about the past 2 weeks and how it's affected you, if your business is up, down, or the same. If you're not sure what your business is doing, maybe you've been sequestered in your office and your home office and you don't know what's going on, you can just choose not to answer it. But if you're aware of how this whole thing has changed your business, we'd like to know. And it looks like there's a pretty big variety of all three answers. Interesting. There's a lot of people saying up, a lot of people saying down, and a lot of people saying that it's remained the same. So very interesting. We're going to talk about some of those things in today's webinar. So appreciate you guys taking a moment to answer that poll. I've got another poll question for you. Let me close this poll, and we're going to go to the next one. The next one is compared to the past year. So in the past year, has your business been up, down, or the same? So I want to know from, not thinking about the past 2 weeks, but behind that, before all this happened, how has your business been in general? When you think about, call it last February to February 2019 to February 2020, do you feel like you were up, down, or the same? And this will give us a nice basis of comparison for how business has changed from, the past year and to just the past 2 weeks. And I think, one of the reasons we've got so many hundreds of people on today is just because, there's a lot of people who want to know what are some things they can do, what are some things they can be effective with. So someone could not join this meeting because it is full. Holy cow. We are maxing it out. That's incredible, you guys. Thank you very much for joining. Let's go. Let me go ahead and close the poll.
This is Whit. I got the new handout loaded, so you guys can try opening that one. Let me know if it doesn't work, but it should be good to go.
Great. Yeah, there is a handout. We'll talk about that handout here in a moment. Here's our next poll question. Who would you consider to be your biggest competition? Other traditional security companies, maybe it's Vivint, maybe it's ADT, maybe it's Ring, Simply Safe, or Nest, or telco and cable companies. And you can choose all of the above. You can choose one or more of these. So if you feel like, 2 of them are your biggest competition, or 3 of them, or all of them, curious to know who, how would you consider your company competing against, some of these other players that are out there? And again, that'll help kind of frame our conversation and help direct to ensure that the things that we're sharing today, the things that we're doing today are effective. And really appreciate you guys taking the time to to take the answers. It looks like the winner so far is other traditional security companies. So it looks like, you know, the local businesses that you're competing against are the ones that you would consider your biggest and greatest competition. Very interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you a lot. We're going to give you guys another moment to fill out that poll, and then we're going to go ahead and close it out. And I've got one final poll question, and this is more in regards to how you're using or how you're getting new sales. Would you consider your current sales channels, and again, choose all that apply. Are you doing in-person sales? Are you doing sales over the phone? Are you doing sales, you know, getting sales or getting leads or things like that from your company website? Maybe you're doing some affiliate or partner advertising. That could be like Google search and AdWords and things like that. Are you using social media? You know, which of the channels that you are using for your leads, your incoming sales, and for your sales efforts? And it looks like, in fact, I'm gonna share the results of this particular poll once we're finished with it. It looks like the majority are doing in-person sales, reporting in-person sales, although there's a big chunk for over the phone as well as company website. Those seem to be leading the pack, those top three. Very interesting, very, very interesting. Well, while we're letting you finish up that poll, then we'll share the results of that one just so you can see what everybody's kind of digging into. I do want to do a little bit of introductions. My name is Jeremy McLaren. I run marketing here at Qolsys. And I also have on the line Kevin Woodworth. He's our Senior Director of Technical Account Management. Kevin has been instrumental in putting together some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you today. And so we're very excited to have him there. I'm going to go ahead and share the results of that poll in case you guys are curious on sales channels. And so Kevin will be helping me lead this discussion and sharing a few things that we think are pertinent and interesting. We also have some special guests on the line, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK there, and I'm going to go ahead and hide the results, and we're back on cameras. We also have Kirk McDowell from MacGuard. Kirk, welcome. You've been on a few of our webinars in the past, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us again. Thanks for being on today, and you're calling in from your home in Washington, is that right?
No, not the epicenter, just south of the epicenter. I'm in Lake Oswego, Oregon, a suburb of Portland, Oregon. So happy to be on, Jeremy.
Okay, glad to have you on. We also have three representatives from Alarm.com. Andy Feldman. Andy is right there next to Nate. How's it going? We're glad you're probably, I assume you're calling in from the DC area? Can't hear you, Andy. I think you're on mute.
I'll answer for him.
Okay,
Thanks,
sounds good.
No,
We've also got Nate Natal and Adam Green.
Wilmington, North Carolina. I live remote.
North Carolina. Great. Well, we're glad you're dialing in today, and hopefully everyone's internet's good enough and you guys can see their pretty smiling faces. Nate Natal, glad you're on today. Where are you calling in from, Nate?
Pennsylvania.
Nice. A little bit of everything. And then Adam Green.
Yeah, hey, Jeremy.
Alarm.com. Where are you?
Yeah, here, Northern Virginia. Things are going well.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day today to be able to, join us for this webinar. For those that, are on, if you're thinking I want to be able to share this later on or rewatch it, don't worry. We are recording this webinar. It will be on our YouTube page later on today, and you'll each receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording, so you will be able to rewatch it if you choose to. So again, we want you to participate. Find that chat or question section in your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will make sure that you have the opportunity to voice your questions. We've got a great team of people that will be answering those questions, and at certain points in the presentation, we'll be asking for feedback and have an opportunity to answer some of your questions live on the air. But please be patient with us because there's several things happening here. Number one, we have a lot of people on the webinar today. And number two, I think we're all experiencing probably a little bit of internet lag, a little bit of internet, connectivity issues. I know my son just told me a moment ago, oh, Dad, I'm going to go downstairs and so I don't disturb your webinar. And he's planning on doing a live stream video chat with the other people in his orchestra, and they're basically playing. He's playing the cello, and everyone's playing their orchestra instruments over the video chat, which should be very interesting because if you think about the lag that occurs, I can't see how any of that's going to sound okay. But you know what? he's getting together with his friends, and that's important. And I'm sure all the rest of my kids are downstairs on their tablets and devices doing their schoolwork and things like that, like many of you guys are. I'd like to start today's presentation today by talking a little bit about this new reality we're all facing right now. And Kirk, you actually just recently wrote an article about this as well. You know, what is this new reality we're facing? What's it like out there? And, you know, how has it affected us, you know, from your perspective?
Yeah, well, first, let me start from a supply chain perspective, because that's one of the articles I was quoting the other day. I think we're going to be fine with supply chain in terms of getting products and vendors like Qolsys and others getting products to people, right? I think, however, what we're starting to find is, and it'll be interesting to see what the poll results are, but some of my clients are calling and they are concerned about not being able to get into the quote unquote home to sell security systems. So I think we're starting to see this transformation to not a DIY, but do it together or do it for me approach.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, you know, you've seen the rush on the shelves. Everybody's talking about toilet paper being gone and bottled water being gone. I know I myself, you know, have gone to the store only a few times, and there's a lot of stuff that's gone, and the stores are changing their hours, either because they don't have the inventory or just because they want to keep their employees safe. You know, many of us, if not all of us, are working from home now, which has, again, changed the dynamic of work. It's been interesting to me as I've done video chats with some of our customers, with people on my team, with some of our partners, you know, and we're interacting with each other in almost more better ways than we were when we were just simply talking over the phone. Now we're turning on our cameras, we're interacting with each other more, and it's changed the way that we are doing business. And the truth of it is, we were always kind of moving toward this, weren't we? I mean, if you think about the digital age and people, you know, doing business online, doing business on websites, doing business, you know, over cameras and things like that, it's happening more and more. We've got FaceTime, we've got Google, you know, Hangouts, we've got, you know, any number of ways, you know, and of course all the software like GoToMeeting, Zoom, you know, Microsoft Teams, etc. Everyone's figuring all this out, and now everyone's getting online and doing this stuff. And people are buying online because the shelves are empty, or because I'm, you know, been given a shelter-in-place order and I can't go anywhere. Now people are saying, well, I've got to buy online. I still want things, I still need things, and I've got to buy online. And so that shift is happening. Another interesting thing is, of course, you know, all of these orders, it seems like you can't keep up with the new information, the new orders to say, hey, you're doing stay in place. You guys are still okay, but only if you're an essential company. ESA put out this great letter that dealers can use, brand it themselves, add their licensing information into it, and then be able to carry around on their trucks or with their salespeople as they go out and work in the field, if they're still working in the field, which some of you have said that, you know, that might have changed for you. Kirk, I'm curious to know from your perspective, this definition of an essential business, does the security industry fall into it?
The short answer is yes. There's been a lot of things happening last weekend, but all three associations got together, SIA, TMA, and ESA got together and made sure Department of Homeland Security did classify active security alarm companies as critical to Department of Homeland Security and critical to what we do every single day, 24/7.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So I hope you guys are aware of that information. I hope you've got a way to document that. So if you do have customers who want your services, that you've got a way to show that, you know, you've got the ability to be out there and do that. So would love to hear from, you know, the audience as well, you know, if what your perspectives are on those, if you've got some things that have affected you or ways that you've been able to make sure that you're being effective. We'd love to hear about those. Whitney, if you can look through the comments or the questions on that, we'd love to hear any feedback on that from our audience today.
Yeah, you bet. I'll keep you posted.
Okay, great. Also, you know, Kirk, you mentioned this article earlier today about, you know, the security industry seeing minimal supply chain disruption. That was in Security, Sales, and Integration. I think Rodney Bosch did a great article about that. He quoted Mike Hackett. You can see that line up on the screen as well. There was multiple quotes in there from multiple manufacturers. And you know, for those that are asking and wondering, if you're a current Qolsys customer and you're wondering, is there going to be enough stuff out there? You know, are you going to run out of supplies? Essentially, we did get very, very lucky. It wasn't a matter of planning for this kind of thing. We were actually planning for Chinese New Year. And because we were planning for Chinese New Year and really ramping up our production for that, this whole pandemic seemed to happen right at that same moment. So we were well stocked up and continue to be well stocked up. And you can see in the article, if you read that article, and that's available on our website. I'm sure you can look it up on security, sales, and integration websites as well. But you could see in the article, made some comments about Foxconn, our manufacturing partner, and how ready they were for it, and what we've taken, the measures we've taken and the steps we've done to ensure that we stay ready for those kind of things. So I thought this article that you wrote recently, Kirk, selling electronic security systems during the COVID-19 crisis, you made a quote in there that stood out to me. Leaders lead in times of crisis, notwithstanding the seriousness of the coronavirus. You have the unique opportunity, and I assume you're talking to dealers here, you have the unique opportunity to transform your company's selling to the consumer in a way that they would want to be sold to. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, if you look back in history, right, nothing ever changes when things are going well, right? There's no impetus to change. When we're in crisis, when the American public and the world is in crisis, you have an opportunity to rethink, retool, and redye kind of your company, right? And so what I'm doing now with my clients is getting them to rethink that there's a different way of doing things. I think we can use this opportunity, although we're in a crisis, a worldwide crisis. We can use this opportunity to kind of rethink how we're doing go-to-market, how we're selling. We've seen that before. And so I think it's a great opportunity for companies to kind of rethink and incorporate leadership within your company and get your staff and your team involved in rethinking. It may not be a DIY model for all of the listeners on the call. It may not be any more door-to-door knocking, but it could be a do it together or do it for me. And I think that that's where we're going to be headed, and that's why this conference today, this teleconference, is so appropriate.
I appreciate that. I really do. And that's one of the things I want to emphasize the most out of what we're talking about here today is you don't have to change much. In times of crisis, change does drive new performance and innovation, and that is absolutely true. But we want you to know that if you're not ready to change and you're not able to change much, you don't have to change much. And there's some solutions out there. We're going to demonstrate those for you today in person, live, so you can see them in action. But you don't have to change much to be successful and make this work for everyone. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Just a quick comment, and I wanted to add on a little bit to what Kirk said, because what we're doing as a company is on a daily basis, the sales leaders at Alarm.com are getting together, and they're bringing together feedback from dealers in specific markets. And much like your poll results, they're all over the board. The interesting thing that we're finding is even that in areas that are pretty hard hit with the coronavirus, we're seeing almost polar opposite differences with how companies are reporting the effect of the virus on their business. Some of them are saying that they are laying off all their people and that it's really bad for them. Others are, interestingly enough, saying it's been a super busy time for them, and the biggest challenge they're having is getting these installations in. So I know everybody leads a little bit different kind of business, and there are some overarching elements of what's going on here that none of us can control. But it is interesting how different leaders in different companies have managed this thing differently, and some of them are still doing well, while others feel like they're having a lot of challenges. They certainly are, but I think some of it can go back to strategy. So if you have a good approach to how you're going to address the market, where the opportunities are, I think you'll find some success.
That's solid advice, Nate, and I totally agree. I think there's, when you consider, your own situation, we never want to make light of the challenges you might be facing. Instead, what we want to do is provide you with some ideas of things you might try, things, you might experiment with that could actually prove to be very, very successful for you, and things that could actually help you a lot. And in the spirit of that, I want to share with you just some of I guess I want to skip to this slide. We'll come back to that in a moment. Just a couple ideas, okay? Think about the idea of a social distance sale. Maybe some of you are in a position where, you're still rolling your trucks. Your technicians are still out there and you're so busy you can't keep up with the volume. Or maybe some of your technicians are saying, I don't want to work, I want to stay home. And so you've got less technicians. So the technicians you have left that are willing to work are really, really busy. Just the idea of offering a social distance install, we're going to show you how you might accomplish that today, could alleviate some of that burden, okay? Maybe there's customers out there who are looking for those kind of things. If you think about it, and I want to go back to the previous slide here, everyone's home right now. I've heard some companies that are doing door-to-door that are saying, this is great. This is like harvest time for us. And of course, our words of caution are, yes, just be sensitive, be ready. Maybe it's a knock on the door and then it's stepping back 6 feet, and stepping back here and saying, hey, I don't want to get too close, but here's what I have to offer and here's what I have to say. If your municipality, if your state would allow something like that, maybe that's a possibility for you. Just, hey, I just want to let you know what we have to offer. And if it sounds good to you, we can figure it out. And we'll share some of the concepts of this social distance sale and install throughout the thing. But the other thing that's interesting is I'm hearing a lot of reports, and I'd love to hear from our audience as well, that the trades are still out there in force. Everyone's now home, and inevitably everybody's got a honey-do list that they're now having to attack. Just yesterday, I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, that curtain rod over there, my wife's like, hey, since you're home, can you finally take care of that curtain rod? It was hanging off. One of the kids yanked on it, and it kind of pulled down. Sure, honey. So while I was on a conference call with our Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Mike Hackett, planning for this event, I'm listening to him. We're talking about things, and I'm putting my phone on mute so I can use a drill. And I'm up on a ladder using a drill, putting the curtain rod back into the wall the right way. Other people are saying, hey, I still need the plumber to come out and fix that one leak. I still, our bandwidth is awful right now. I need the internet company to come out and make sure our network is optimized and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are happening. And of course, when we talk about the market in general, we've almost always seen when there's a rise in firearm sales and ammunition sales, there almost always seems to be a rise in security system sales as well. Whitney, I'd love to hear from our audience. What kind of comments or questions related to this have they shared with you that are worth mentioning?
So we've got some dealers that Roger says that they've been using FaceTime and Zoom effectively to meet with clients, and also focusing on client visits and things like that. Let me see what else we got. Tim says in Arizona. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Tim says that they're 100% operational with installs and service in Arizona, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and again, each state's going to have different laws, different rules, and things like that. And until you're told lockdown, you can't go anywhere. I'm assuming a lot of these people that are on the line today are saying, and I'm going to keep working. I want to share with you, take a look at this social distance install. And I don't want you to feel like a social distance install doesn't mean a pro install doesn't happen. And again, this is just my quick mock-ups as I was preparing for the webinar today, and I wanted to share with you just some of my personal ideas. We've talked about it as a team, how we might order, how we might, put some things together for you. Imagine being able to say, I'm going to ship you a small kit today that you can install yourself. And then once all this nonsense blows over, I'm going to come back out and do a full install for you. Imagine the power that comes here. And we've talked on previous webinars. If you've attended our previous webinars, we've talked about the power of reaching out to your customers on a regular basis, and new customers, whether they're new or been with you for a short while, are almost always ready for a new device of some sort between the 3 and 6 month mark. Imagine thinking for a minute, if I could ship you your system, you can install it yourself with appropriate social distance. And then I've made you a commitment that in 6 months from now or 3 months from now, whenever this all happens to shake out, I will come back at a scheduled time and I will mount your panel on the wall for you. Maybe I'll give you a free video doorbell or, a free camera. That's, cameras are all the rage right now. But it would be harder to do a self-install of a camera, but I'd be happy to come in and do it for you, when this all blows over. Think of it as an upgrade appointment, a scheduled upgrade appointment with every single one of these customers. I was talking to a dealer yesterday and I said, what would you say if you knew that all of your installs you could schedule about 3 months in advance, and that you had customers that were loyal customers and were ready for more stuff 3 months from now? And he's like, that would be phenomenal. I was like, it really can be something like this. And again, everybody's business is different. We want to be sensitive to that, but consider for a second the possibility of giving them something that they can simply take and do it, take and do it themselves, and then be able to, go further. Kirk, you seem to be nodding your head a bunch there. What's on your mind?
Yeah, listen, I could not agree with you more. I think that that consumers really like to be led in terms of security devices or upselling of products and services. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's absolutely great. Putting in a system now or doing a DIT and shipping it to it now and telling them at a later time you'll come up and add on an outdoor video camera or an indoor camera is, I think, the right place to do and the right place to be. And I have to tell you, I'm a huge believer in continuing the upsell process throughout the term of that contract. I think two things happen. I think three things happen. I think the clients become happier because they're engaged more. You continue to be able to sell additional products and services. And number three, your attrition drops off because you're engaging with that consumer all the time.
Absolutely. 40% of you said that you're using social media as one of your sales channels. That means 60% of you either didn't answer or are not using social media. I want you to consider for a moment an ad like this. You could make one yourself easily. There's lots of resources on the Qolsys dealer portal to download pictures and things like that. I put together most of this with assets that I downloaded off the dealer portal, or like the picture of the truck I just found on Google. Imagine putting together something like this where you could put this together and give it to social and say, social distance install, even if all you did was send it to all your current customers and say, hey, let all your friends and neighbors who are probably looking for security know that I can do it, and I can do it with a little, social distance, that I've got an option for them, because chances are if they've got a security system, they're probably talking with their neighbors about things. They're probably talking about their toilet paper supplies and about school and, just FaceTiming them or calling them because they need some kind of human interaction. As that happens, inevitably the subject could come up of referring them to you. And if you've got the capability of doing something that's sensitive to their situation, you might find yourself with a lot of referrals in that regard too. Just imagine in giving your current customers an incentive of a free camera or a doorbell if they don't have one, or, a flood sensor for under their sink or what have you, as their incentive to put this on their Facebook page, to put your ad that you made, with a link to your website or with your phone number on it, on their Twitter, on their, Instagram, things like that. Maybe you want to run some contests. There could be some great things. And because you've got everyone working from home right now, there might be some people with some extra bandwidth to start creating some of these things. So again, there's lots of great ideas out there. I don't think there's any shortage of ideas, but I think we need to get started with something. I think we need to, embrace the idea. And before you can embrace that idea, we want you to understand that it is absolutely possible. So I want to introduce this concept of never opening a box, the social distance installation and never opening a box. Kevin, what does that mean?
Well, I think we're gonna spend some time talking about that today. We're gonna kind of show you what that means here as we get into the next phase of the presentation here. But on the surface, it means that you have the ability to ship a kit to a customer, and you don't ever have to open a box. And this is done through some very specific tools that we've built in conjunction with Alarm.com and others. And we kind of want to highlight a few of those tools today and kind of talk about them a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually demonstrate this install to you. So I will be kitting up the box as the dealer today, and I'll be shipping it to Jeremy. Jeremy's going to act as the homeowner, and we'll do an install here. But before we get into that piece, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the power of the Alarm.com remote toolkit. I'm sure you're all very aware of the Alarm.com remote toolkit. It's a very powerful tool, gives you a lot of access to your customer accounts, whether that's creating a new account and fulfilling a commitment like we're going to do today, whether that's accessing an existing account, remotely adding or deleting equipment, the ability to use the partner portal and the remote toolkit to really manage your accounts, whether it's new installs and new accounts or whether it's existing accounts, is just a really, really powerful tool. At Qolsys, we've spent a lot of time integrating with Alarm.com. We feel like we have what we call a best-in-class integration. And what that means to us is that virtually anything you can do on the panel, you can do from the partner portal. And so we strive to have that kind of go hand in hand. And that gives you a lot of power, especially in times like this. There's a couple things we've built on the panel as well. So on the panel side, we call it a toolless install. And what that means is that the battery comes pre-installed. So we install it at the factory. It's pre-plugged in. You don't actually have to take the panel apart and break the plastics, get out a screwdriver to plug in the battery before you ship it to make that easier for the customer. That comes ready to go from us out of the box. The table stand is toolless, so it just clicks into place, no screwdriver needed. Same with the power and the barrel jack. It uses a barrel jack for power. We've got a little back door that covers it. So you can literally take the panel out of the box, snap the back plate on and the power on, or the table stand and the power together, plug it in, and it just kind of works. We've got pull tabs on all of our sensors. We ship the majority of our sensors with die-cut adhesive ready to go. And then we've built this really great installation wizard as well. And I know you guys are using this on your installs today. And there's kind of two, the wizard is highly customizable. So it can be for a pro installer to kind of walk him through an install, or it can be for an end user who's installing it as well. And there's some tweaks that can be made to the installation wizard that are already in place. They're in panel software today, and through some Air Effects panel templates, you're able to actually kind of configure that wizard and have it be more customizable, a little bit more pared down to make that installation experience for the customer a little bit easier and smoother. So we're actually going to, and one last tool, and Jeremy's got this on the screen here, and actually have it printed off here as well. We've made an actual quick start guide or a startup guide that's really specifically designed for the end user. So it's very simplified. It follows along with the easy installation wizard step by step, and it's some additional materials that you guys can print off. You can put your own logos on it. You can totally customize it, and it will actually kind of walk a customer through setting up the panel using a combination of the easy install wizard and the paper startup guide, teaching them how to place a sensor, how far apart a magnet should be, where a motion detector should mount, and things like that. And we're going to kind of show you that here in a little bit as we get into that.
And that's, as a note as well, Kevin, that is available for download on the user handout section of the GoToWebinar control panel. So if you haven't already found that PDF on there, click on that and you'll get that full document right there. We'll also be posting it on the Qolsys dealer portal here later.
Yeah, that's right. And so I think there was two handouts. Some people had said the first handout link was broken. Whitney uploaded a second link, which is I think the one you want, and that one should be working now. So to get started here with the actual kind of hands-on demo here, we wanted to introduce a concept to you that we call light glove. Now, you're all familiar with the term white glove, and we have that in here too. We're going to show you that next, but we want to start with this concept of light glove. And essentially what that means is very low touch on your part, and then kind of helping the customer through on their part, or letting them do kind of as much as possible on their part. So up on the screen here, we have a little workflow, and this would be designed for a more simple system, maybe a 3-1 kit to get them started, and then you would go back and make it a more robust kit and add additional devices 90 days out. But ZWave could be included as part of this, and everything in green here on the screen is something that you would do as a dealer, and we're going to follow along this today. And then everything in blue is something that the customer would do, and we're going to let Jeremy be the customer today. So he will do everything in blue. I'm going to go ahead and start to do everything in green here. So Jeremy, if you want to let me share my screen.
I'm going to turn you into the presenter and let you share your screen. Hang on a second here. Make presenter. There you go, buddy. You got it.
All right. Got it. Okay. So what we have up here is we have this light glove, and we're going to follow this step process up here. But I've also got the Alarm.com dealer portal up and running here. And if we start here at the top green square, it says never open a box, create commitment. Now, for today's demo, we're going to assume that you've already created the commitment. You have a sales process by which you gather customer information, address, phone number, contact information. You can go into Alarm.com and you can create that commitment. You're likely doing that today as part of your sales and install process. And then what would happen traditionally is when a technician got to the home, he would be able to activate that commitment once he got there. We're going to show you the way we do it today is by pre-activating the commitment in the warehouse. So I'm a technician. I'm not in my truck rolling out to a customer's house. I'm at my home. You could do this from your house. You could have technicians working remotely. Maybe they're in the warehouse of your office and kind of spread out, 6 feet apart from each other. So lots of ways you could do this, but we're going to do it from my house here today. I log into the Alarm.com dealer portal. All I have to do is go find my customer for the day and click on Activate Commitment. Now, it already knows that this is going to be a Verizon panel and an IQ panel 2. The only piece of information it really needs from me is the 15-digit module serial number. Now, the good news is that we actually print the 15-digit serial number on the outside of every box. So there's no need to open this box, take it apart, and spend a lot of time in my warehouse or in my home to kind of pre-kit this and get this ready to go for the customer. All I have to do is take the serial number off the outside of the box and plug that into Alarm.com. There's a couple ways I could do that. I could simply read off this 15-digit serial number and go ahead and type it in here. Or I went on Amazon. I bought a little $15 USB scanner, basically. It plugs right into any computer. And I do this because it speeds me up and makes me faster, and also means I don't have any errors and I don't get the number wrong. So this helps improve that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to scan this here. It scans the IMEI directly into Alarm.com. And now I'm just going to hit Create Customer. And this piece is actually done. So this panel is now tied to Jeremy's house, and Jeremy is a customer. I've got my UPS box here, so ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this panel in the box. Now I know that Jeremy is also getting 3 doors, so I'm going to grab those here. So I've got my 3-door window sensors. I'm going to put those in the box. Those come with die-cut tape inside the box ready to go, and you'll see that when Jeremy gets to his piece. He's also getting a motion detector. Now for the motion detector, because I want to make this installation easy for the customer, we're going to go ahead and use command strips. So I have a little pack of command strips here. I'm going to slide this into the motion detector box for Jeremy to use, and we'll put that into my shipping box.
That does make it easy.
And he also wanted a ZWave module. He wants to control his lamp, so we're going to go ahead and give him a ZWave module and put that in the box. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to print my welcome letter. So I've got that here for Jeremy. I've got my Alarm.com welcome letter ready to go. And I've got my quick start guide ready to go here. So I'm going to put those both in the box. And we're ready to go now. I can go ahead and seal this up. And I've got UPS scheduled to come pick this up every single day. So that took, under 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes per kit. This is kitted up and ready to go out the door. So I can go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And through the magic of the internet, this is going to land at Jeremy's doorstep here in just a second.
Kevin, did you have to be at the office to do that?
Nope. No, we can do this from home, right? So we've had some really good feedback.
Access to the Alarm.com portal, you can do from home. You just need the equipment, right? You need to bring home a stash of equipment for it. But essentially, you could do the entire process from home, right? All right.
That's
well,
right.
I just heard my doorbell ring. You guys see? Well, I can't carry my laptop with me because it's plugged in. Well, I could. Hold on. Doorbell's ringing. I'm going to go see who it is. Oh, what do you know? Look at this. There's a box. Okay. Well, I want to be socially responsible, so I'm going to take this box and it's hard to carry everything at once. Hang on here. Who knows what that UPS guy's hands were like. So I got myself some Clorox wipes, wipe my hands off, wipe this box down, just to be safe. Don't want any of that nonsense coming in my house, affecting my family. Okay? Nice. So make sure you guys can see this. So here I got my box from Kevin. Okay, and I'm gonna rip this thing open. And what do we have in here? All kinds of goodies. Getting started with Qolsys. Okay. And getting started. Here's my quick guide. Okay, getting started. So I'll start here. It says step 1, open the box, and you guys could follow along with your PDF if you like to. Locate your new all-in-one touchscreen power supply and table stand. Okay, so that, I guess, is this. Let me crack this thing open. Let's see if I can angle this down a little more so you can see. So there's my sleeve, and got in here. So to locate my touchscreen, which is this, my power supply, which is this, and my table stand, where might that be? Oh, here it is under the tray. Okay, table stand. All right, so it says, according to this, plug in my power connector. Okay, so I'm gonna start with that. So I plug this into the back here. Now, I'm cheating a little bit, just for your purposes. I actually have a different type of plug in this because I'm gonna share my screen here with you guys, the actual screen of my panel. So let's pretend that I took the back plate off, and well, I'll just show you how easy that is. Take that off, and I could take this little barrel jack and plug it right into there, plug, okay? You know, I'm gonna be realistic here. Look, it's not hard. Boink, just like that. Any of you have done this, you know how easy that is. So I wanna pretend that that's plugged in, okay? And then it says to put the cover on until it snaps in place. Okay, insert the table stand. Okay, and it says into the mounting holes and push upward until it snaps. You hear that? Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay, snaps in place. Plug in the power supply. Now I'm plugging in the power supply and I'm pressing and holding the standby button until on the side of the panel for 3 seconds. Okay, so again, all fairly simple stuff to do. Get some of this mess out of the way so you can still see what I'm working on here. Okay, now I'm going to plug this in. You can see right here, it's got the end user wizard on the screen. I'm going to plug this into my laptop because it's going to activate a program that we're using that allows us to mirror the screen. Okay, I want you to be able to see what I'm seeing. And, oh, I got to change myself back to the presenter, don't I? You guys aren't seeing my screen yet. Make presenter. I got to find myself in this massive list of people. Hey, and while I'm doing this, guys, thank you for joining today. Really do appreciate everyone being on here. There we go. Make myself presenter. And I'm going to show my main screen. So here is my Visor program. Oh, hold on. Please hold for my technical difficulties. I'm going to quit that. And I'm going to run it again. No devices found. Kevin, what am I doing wrong here, buddy?
Just unplug your panel.
Through it otherwise.
Yeah,
okay.
Just unplug it and plug it back.
Unplug my. See if that does it. Oh, there we go. All right. View. So this will help you guys because you'll be able to see exactly what I'm seeing. Okay, there we go. All right. So here we've got this light glove principle up on the screen. Okay, and then I want to make sure that the visor is on there as well. So you can see it says get started by using our easy installation wizard. Make sure your panel's plugged in before proceeding. I've done that. I'm going to press start. Checking internet connection. Okay, Wi-Fi connected. And there we go. I'm all connected. I'm going to click next. And now it's going to run through a series of tests. Okay, and I'm looking here on my thing. It says, you know, initial settings, follow the steps in the on-screen wizard to connect Wi-Fi, run a system test, and download the cloud settings. Okay, so I'm going to let that do that. While that's checking the system, you can see it runs through a series of system checks to ensure that everything's okay. While it's doing that, I'm going to see what else is in my box. See what kind of good stuff Kevin gave me. 3-door window sensors, motion sensor, and oh, command strips. How handy is that? Thank you, Kevin. That will make it a lot easier than getting out my drill. And then, of course, a dimmer outlet as well. This will be a lot of fun to put all these together. Oh, system settings are all downloaded. I'm going to click next. Ready to add sensors. Unpack the sensors that came with your system and lay them within easy reach. Okay, well, I'm going to start with a door window sensor. Okay, unpack it. And here's a magnet. And here is some adhesive tape. And here is a sensor. So according to this, it says, when you get to this page, locate your door window sensors, open each one and locate the adhesive. Okay, apply the adhesive. So it's showing me how to apply the adhesive on here. So I'm going to take this little tiny Ziploc bag. This is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Take this Ziploc bag and I'm going to peel off the adhesive here, just like the picture shows me how to do. And I'm going to put this on the back of the sensor. Look how carefully I'm lining it up. I feel like a professional right now. Wow. Seriously, Kevin, if you have an opening in the installation department, I could totally apply adhesive. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing for my little magnet. Okay, nice. Okay, according to this, I'm supposed to remove the 2 battery tabs. So I'm going to press start. I've unpacked them. Open and close your sensor, you know, and okay, open and close your sensor or trigger the device. Okay, oh, so it says door window, and the sensor name is door. So I'm going to change this to front door, not front B, front door. Check. Now you'll notice, for those of you that are experienced in this installation of an IQ panel, you'll notice this page looks different than what you've seen in the wizard. And that's because we've created one page that's more for end users. In this case, I don't need to know sensor group. I don't need to know sensor behaviors. I don't need to know any of that. I don't need to know how it's connecting S-line versus, you know, power G, etc. I only need to know, is this a door or a window? And if I changed it, watch what happens. I say, actually, it's a window. It automatically changes the name to window for me. Well, this is a door, okay? And remember, I'm calling this front door, so F-R-O-N-T. And I can really use any name I want to there. That's the beauty of the custom text-to-speech on this. And I'm going to hit save, okay? Now, I would repeat that process for all these sensors, okay? You can see the motion sensor in my house. Oh, that's good to hear. The motion sensor that's actually in my house for my system keeps pulling up as part of this. So I'm just going to click save on that because I've got one of those in there. But voila, I've got myself a door window sensor. Now let's install this. Hopefully I can show this without throwing things up. Well, I'll do it on this door right here. We'll pretend this is the front door. So again, according to this, okay, I repeated, I gave it a name. So what's next? Now it's going to show me where I place it. Okay, it's best to put the sensor on the molding and the magnet on the door, but there is an option to do it otherwise, and there's a diagram for the window as well. So I'm going to go take this, I'm going to peel that adhesive off, okay, of both of these, okay, and I'm going to walk over here, and I'm going to put it on my door. It says to put it here and here, okay, voila, okay, so I've got it on my door. So next it says pair motion sensors. When you get to this page, locate your motion sensor. Here we go. Okay, open the box, locate the adhesive, found it. Open the device to remove the back plate and remove the battery tab. So again, this is all fairly simple stuff. Okay, I'm gonna open this up, and it says to open the back plate by pinching this. I'm gonna open this up, remove the tab, the battery tab. Okay, and now it says it should automatically detect me. It's not doing it. It says to wave my hand in front of it. So let me give it a second to do that. Okay. And I'm going to close this back up. And while it's doing that, I'm going to put the adhesive on. Oh, there it goes. It found it. So I'm going to peel off the adhesive on the command strips that Kevin gave me. I'm sticking it to the back. Okay. And now I've got to place it. It says I've got 2 options, a corner install or a wall install. To reduce false alarms, avoid installing your motion sensor near ceiling fans, heating ducts, or pointed towards windows. And it says to put it at 7.5 feet tall. So I could kind of guess that. Peel off my things here. And I'm going to put it right up there. Beautiful. Voila. My house is secure. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Oh, motion sensor was already, I'm going to call this the kitchen or kitchen. Kitchen motion detector, check, save, okay. Now the next step, it shows to test my sensors. Okay. So, oh, my motion detector's poured. So I got to move it around, right? You know, I got to make sure that I'm opening and closing my door according to this. When you get to this page, checking everything works. But open and close each door several times. Wave your hands in front of the motion sensors. And I can hear it audibly telling me everything's great. And after a few tests, everything's nice and strong. So I guess I did it right. The next step is add ZWave devices. Click start. And it says if it includes lamp modules, okay, locate them. I found it. Make sure your device is cleared before attempting to add it to your network. So I have right over here a plug. Let's say I'm going to automate my toaster, which is weird, but let's pretend this is a lamp. I put that in there, and I'm only doing it so you guys can see, right? So I'm going to plug this in. It says first I got to clear the device. So I press clear device, and according to this, I've got to press the button. So I press the button. Cleared successfully. Now I'm going to add that device. Oh, there it is, light. So I'm going to change this because it's not a light to be a custom name, and I'm going to call it my toaster. Okay, save. Added successfully. Next it says to follow the prompts, and I've got to optimize my network. Leave it in my final location and press start. So I'm pressing start. I'm sure the camera is just crazy here. I apologize for all that. But network is now optimized, running efficiently. Great. Press net. Would you like to pair a smartphone for touchless disarming? I don't know if this is going to work because I've got my headphones in. But normally I would go up here to my phone and I would go to settings and activate my Bluetooth and turn my Bluetooth on. And then I'd hit pair and the two codes would match and I'd press OK and I'd press OK and I'd be done there. But because I'm using headphones, it's not going to go in pairing mode. So add users. Now I'm going to add a new user. Well, I certainly want Kevin to come over and to my house anytime he wants. So Woodworth. And Kevin, do you have a code you'd prefer?
How about 3317? I'm not going to tell you what it means though.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so that's my code for Kevin. Add users. Well, you know what? I've got lots of friends, and I want everyone to have access to my system. So it's not just Kevin. Kirk, I need you to have your own user code, and that way I can know when you come to my house and you're trying to steal my toilet paper. What code do you want for your code, Kirk?
2012.
2012. Oh, 201. I am two. There we go. I keep hitting the check mark. 2012. Okay. 2012. Okay. Check. And I'm going to add him there. And you know what? My buddy Andy needs one. But you know what, Andy? I can add yours later from the mobile app because I know you prefer I do that anyway. So I'm going to swipe to dismiss that because I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one. Congratulations. My system's all set up, ready to use. Check out the following video tutorial to familiarize yourself with the system. I'm going to press play, and now it's going to play the video tutorial that's right there on the panel. And now I can, if I bump this, it messes that up. Now I can actually see, I touch an icon to view content. This is how I arm, this is how I disarm, and it walks me through them. These are the same video tutorials that exist inside the envelope icon in the top corner of the panel. That is loud. You can watch that on your own later on. I'm going to hit back on this and exit. But now my system's ready to use. Now, the only thing I haven't done is I haven't called to activate, and you would put your phone number down in here so that they call up and you can then activate it with the central station. So overall, pretty simple. But I'm guessing that we have comments and questions about that process. What comments and questions do we have? And let's get some of those addressed right now before we move on.
So we don't have a lot of questions in regards to the wizard, but we do have questions about how people can build their prospective clients and how they can use this process to help make sure that they're still seeing that sales needle move.
Okay. When you say build their prospective clients, you mean how are they going to find new customers?
Yeah, so how do they keep their sales up when they can't door knock and they can't do things like that and they can't go out and physically see people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the things we talked about earlier today, and we'd love to hear if you've got ideas on the line today. If you've got things that you're doing right now that seem to be effective, please share those. We'd love to mention you by name and share some of the best practices you've got. But, you know, if I were in your shoes right now, the very first thing I would do is make sure that my prospective customers know that I have a social distance install available. That awareness campaign, and think about it, everyone's looking at social distance stuff right now. Everyone's looking at the coronavirus, COVID, you know, social distance. These terms are buzzwords right now. And the more you can publish stuff about that, the more attention it's going to get. Maybe you want to do a Facebook ad. Maybe you want to do a campaign to your existing customers and say, hey, share this email with your friends. Share this special offer with your friends, things like that. Maybe you want to revise your referral program to include some kind of, you know, incentive for them that, you know, they might be, you know, get a free device or something like that. But, you know, getting your current customers working on it, getting your social networks working on it, getting your employees' social networks on it is going to be a really handy thing. If you create a few simple ads, whether that's on Facebook or it's on Instagram or it's, you know, on Google or it's on Twitter, you know, letting them know I have a social distance install. And, you know, especially think about the habits of your, you know, existing customers. I myself have a security system, that's obviously, and we had some shady people driving around our house, driving around our neighborhood the other night. And my wife and I typically don't arm the security system. We live in a very safe area. We haven't really had to arm it that often, and we've kind of gotten out of practice. After seeing the guy driving around and you know, the police coming out and, you know, scaring him off and things like that, we thought, you know what, this is uncertain times. There are people who might be out to do us harm. We want to protect our home. We want to protect our kids. So we started arming our system, not just in the evenings, but even during the day. Throughout the day, our system is armed in stay mode. And when we were sharing some of our experiences with our neighbors on Facebook, we have a Facebook group for our neighborhood. We were telling them about, you know, the shady characters that we saw driving up and down and what the police said about it and things like that. They all said, do you have a security system? Are you using it? And where'd you get it from? Right there, that's a perfect example. Now, I'm not saying that you have to drive shady people up and down people's neighborhoods for this, but I'm willing to bet people are already talking about it. And if they're already talking about it, don't you want to be involved in that conversation? And if your customers know you've got something that's specific for them that is socially respectable, that is socially distant, that you could say, hey, I can do something without sending someone out to your house if you're not comfortable with that, or if we're in a situation where I'm not allowed to do that, you know, I can still fulfill that for you. Your customers will perpetuate that for you. So I think looking at your existing customers is a really big, strong one that many of us are probably not looking to at the moment. But then the second one is, of course, just the general social media landscape that many of us are not taking advantage of. You've got, of course, any of your regular sales channels. If you're already doing phone, you know, how many of those people on the phone hung up and said, I don't want that system because they perhaps were worried about, you know, someone coming into their home? Again, there's nothing wrong with someone coming in your home. We want people to come into our homes at the appropriate time. Let's wait 3 to 6 months, you know, for that to happen, and we'll come in and do that pro install. So this whole approach of a delayed upgrade focused install can be really, really strong for you. Any comments from our other panelists on that, in that regard? Any other ideas that you might have that would add on to that?
Jeremy, I would also say that there are a lot of people right now that their highlight of the day with both everyone home is and looking to see what's new in the mail. Want to look at returning to the days of direct mail, right? I think social campaign is great, but also augment that by doing direct mail campaign back the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and chances are you've got a few employees sitting at home who are willing to stuff envelopes. So it's not a bad point, Kirk. Thank you.
Yeah, one thing that we see, Jeremy, is that a lot of the folks that we have talked to have described there being a strong interest in getting security. Some of them have said that the biggest problem they've had is with their own employees wanting to go out and do installations and being concerned about being in somebody's home, not knowing what the status of the home is. And this is not across the board, but it's a much bigger majority than I had originally thought would be the case. that they can't get the installations done, although people want them. So I think this is a perfect solution for that. And I love the idea of saying, we'll come back and have a professionally installed version of this once the issues have subsided. On the other hand, you may end up finding that people have walked through the installation to their satisfaction and not need to do that. So I think it certainly provides some good options.
Well, that's an interesting segue to our next section, which is talking about the possibility of white glove. You know, Kevin referenced this earlier, you know, the concept of light glove being one where you never open a box. You literally just do, you know, a very small number of things, and then you let the customer do that whole entire process that I just demonstrated for you. But you could also do more for the customer using that Alarm.com partner portal to log in, create the commitment, activate that commitment, and not just entering the panel IMEI, but you can even add sensors. Kevin, why don't you describe that for us briefly? How would you do a little bit more? What steps could the dealer take back to make less work for the customer?
Yeah, sure. So in the white glove scenario we're showing on the screen here, in addition to activating the account and scanning the IMEI, I might also choose to add sensors ahead of time, right? Whether it's ZWave or whether it's security sensors. Specifically on the security sensor side, I can use my same little barcode scanner, or I can manually type in the DL code on each sensor. We have barcodes on the outside of all the boxes, so you could potentially pre-scan all the sensors into the panel. There you go. Thanks, Jeremy. You could pre-scan those into the panel into Alarm.com Remote Toolkit. There's a great new tool on there that got published several months ago called Bulk Add Sensors. Allows you to do all of the sensors with a single push. And then you could choose to power up the panel ahead of time, you know, pre-attach the wire, pre-attach the table stand, kind of do some testing, make sure everything's working, maybe pre-enroll the ZWave module, put it back in the box and ship it so that literally when the customer gets it, it's more of that white glove experience, right? Where they just take it out of the box, plug it in, everything's pre-programmed and working and ready to go. And then one of the other concepts we have with white glove as well is you see what we call a virtual pro install. It's over there on the right-hand side in green. So there's still some things the customer would do via the easy install wizard, like connect to Wi-Fi, like do a system check. But you might actually schedule a time with them for them to call in at a certain time, or you might staff your call center a little bit differently so that when they receive their kit, they can call in and you can actually do a virtual pro install with them and kind of walk them through the phone if they're a little less savvy or a little less secure about doing it on their own. I really liked the comment earlier in the presentation, whoever chimed in and said they were using FaceTime as part of their sales process, walking through and selling over FaceTime. You could do the exact same thing with the installation process, right, through that virtual pro install. So it just kind of depends on where you want to draw these lines in the sand, whether you want this real light glove approach and get a lot out the door and have the customer do a little more, or whether you want to do a little more ahead of time and make that an easier experience for the customer. Lots of ways to slice it.
And talk about keeping your technicians busy if they are stuck at home and can't get in those trucks and drive around those neighborhoods because of the stipulations that have been put in place by your state or municipality. Your technicians could easily be on the phone, on the computer, walking customers through things. Your technicians could potentially become delivery people. Maybe instead of a technician or putting a box and having UPS deliver it like Kevin did for me, maybe instead it is technicians put it in the truck and they drive it over to the house, grab their Clorox wipes, wipe off the box, ring the doorbell, and hop back in their truck. And now the customer ends up getting their box that they can pick up. I mean, your technicians could essentially become delivery people, and they could say, hey, call us if you need anything. You know, thanks. Good luck with it. You know, we're here to help you. You know, and I'll see you guys in 3 months from now, you know, when we come back and do that pro install. You know, thanks very much for your business. There's a lot of opportunities here. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jerry, don't forget they can also put in the security stake sign and the stickers on the outside of the windows, right? So it solidifies that sale.
Absolutely.
The consumer feels protected, and you're halfway there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a really strong offer. And all of these things, consider them ingredients in whatever recipe you want to make. Any number of things could be shifted around, switched around. These are all ingredients. The wizard's one ingredient. The ability to remotely learn in sensors or learn in the panel is another ingredient. The ability to deliver it versus sending it, to UPS is another ingredient. And no two companies are going to be the same in terms of what your situation is, where you're at, in terms of what your resources are. And you need to decide. That's one of the things we'd encourage you to do, is sit down as a team, get on, a Zoom call or a FaceTime, group call or whatever, and talk about it as a team. How could we implement these things to make sure that we're being as effective as possible? If you're in marketing, if you're in sales, what are some of the things we could do to drum up a few more sales, to create a little bit more interest in some of these solutions that we've got available for you? And I want to make sure we understand that this isn't just for new customers. These same principles apply to all three types of customers you might be approaching. You've got new customers, which we demonstrated today, that need all brand new sensors, but there are customers that already have existing systems and you're doing takeovers. If they call you up and they've got an old 2 gig panel on the wall and they want you to activate it and want you to do business with them, and they're ready to have a security system again, you could say, hey, I can mail you a panel directly to your home, and you can press start on the wizard, and when you get to that sensor part, all you're doing is opening and closing your doors, and the system will detect it, and you give it a name and press save, and they could literally do the same exact thing, only they don't have to do the part where they take sensors out of a box and put adhesive on it and things like that. It's literally just the sensors that are already in their house. So a new customer takeover, again, is very, very easy. For those that don't know, we've got 3 different types of panels out there that make that easy. We've got a yellow panel that is 319, which works with Interlogic systems. And there's a great video that we're going to email to you tomorrow in the follow-up email that will show you how Jason, one of our technical account managers, did a takeover of an Interlogic system in, I think it was 16 minutes, the full system, and that included taking the old panel off the wall and putting the new panel back up. So very, very rapid and
Hey, Jeremy.
completely feasible that a customer could do it. Please, go ahead.
Yes, we had a comment from Matt. He's using this opportunity to attack LTE upgrades. They've done 75 this week, and it's Thursday. So anyway, just
wow. Congratulations, Matt. That is awesome news. And that's the perfect segue to our next section. So many of you have LTE upgrades that need to be done. Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's more. If you have to take a 3-month break of doing, your regular installs in addition to doing your, LTE upgrades, that's going to hurt. That's going to be really difficult to get all that done. So, this might be the perfect opportunity to attack your LTE upgrade base. And again, think about marketing to these customers. Think about these customers that you're saying, I'm going to mail you out a panel because you're already on Alarm.com. Let's assume for a second they're already on Alarm.com. Because you're already on Alarm.com, and Kevin, correct me if I get this wrong, you can download the panel settings, and when you mail the panel to them, it already works with all their existing sensors, right?
That's right. You can
do
a backup and restore.
Yeah, that's strong, you guys. Think about that. You can literally take the panel that they've already got, upload the settings to Alarm.com, download the settings to the new panel. When they get the panel and they start through the wizard, all the sensors are already paired and ready to go, and they can just start using it. Again, plug it into the wall, promise them you'll come back and do a formal, installation on the wall later if you want, or they might be perfectly happy leaving it on their table stand and leaving it on their kitchen counter. It might be great there. If not, again, they can take the existing sensors they've got and do the same thing just like a takeover, open and close those doors. But imagine the incentives you could put in place for an existing customer doing LTE. I'm going to get you a new panel, and if you refer a friend, maybe I'll get you that video doorbell you didn't get the first time you bought your system with us. And we'll come out and we'll install it in 3 months when all this is over. In fact, refer a friend, and we'll give you a quote unquote device credit of whatever amount you decide is the appropriate amount. And you could say, for each friend you refer, you're going to get an additional credit. And when we come back in 3 months or whenever it is, you'll have that much device credit that you can use, and we'll literally just take stuff off our truck and install it in your house, and you don't have to pay anything for it. Okay? All your friends are wanting security right now. They're all wanting to do stuff. Help us protect them just like we protect you. We're going to upgrade your stuff today. And as we upgrade your friends and your family and your relatives, that's going to then put more devices back into your home, so you're going to get the true smart home you deserve. So there's lots of great ideas out there that you can implement right now as you're working with your existing LTE base as they need to be upgraded. Whitney, any other additional questions or comments we should address?
Yes, we have so many comments and questions. Thank you guys so much for participating. We've got some questions. How do you help prevent false alarms in a self-install scenario? And
Really
that
great
question
question.
comes from Brianna.
Okay, Kevin, do you want to answer Brianna's question? What are some tips for Brianna?
Yeah, sure. So there's two things that are important to me. One, you saw the page of the easy install wizard that's in there called the system test or the sensor test page. So that really ensures that the sensors are working from their installed location, that they're working to where the panel is currently installed, and that's a really good check and balance. I think the second thing that's really, really important, and this is at the very end of the quick guide that Jeremy's team made, it talks about calling your dealer to activate your system today. And I think that that's a really important step. Whether it's a pro install or whether it's a DIY install, there's always this step at the end where you test the entire system, right? And you're able to talk to the customer, understand how it's installed, have them open and close zones, maybe even have them arm and disarm it. And I used to call it, when I was a technician, I would call it playing burglar, right? You get to break in and trip every single zone, make sure that it's sending all the way to the central station, working and communicating, has good cell signal strength, all those little things that matter on an install, right? So to me, it's that it's testing the sensors as part of the installation wizard, and then doing the full system test at the end of the install with you on the phone, watching those signals come into the central station.
Hey, if I can chime in too, also Kevin, great points. Consumers have to know it's a DIY install, but to your point, it's professionally monitored, right? Those monitoring centers, or what I call private 911 centers, have an impetus to reduce those calls coming in. This is not something that somebody goes and gets at a big box retailer, puts it in, and really doesn't care, right? This is professionally monitored, so it's a different DIY approach, and consumers need to know that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Kirk.
If I can make just
Whitney, what other questions are out there? Oh, please, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, if people aren't familiar, we've rolled out some central station integrations. You should check with your account executive. A lot of the most popular central station software we have integrated with. So from the end user app, if there was an alarm, the customer can both confirm and cancel those alarms right inside the app. So I think that it gives the customer confidence that this is a professionally monitored solution. And that we are also in the process of rolling out the ability to put the system on test through the end user app as well. That's a smaller group of central station softwares, but I think that should be a helpful tool as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you, Brianna, for asking that question. It's a great question. Hopefully that satisfied your curiosity. Whitney, what other questions are out there?
Yeah, along similar lines, Eric wants to know if there are any legal repercussions for a self-installed system.
Kirk, not that I'm aware of, but I think, I don't know how to touch that one.
Listen, I would tend to think though that you want to have a DocuSign agreement executed. So you're still in a contractual relationship with that consumer. I think that's important. Other than that, DIY is DIY. It's still professionally monitored, and I think you're still covered by the same E&O provisions. But you should check with ESA insurance carrier or whoever your insurance carrier is to make sure.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And I would reiterate the fact that this doesn't have to be that different from what you normally do. I would still think that you want to try and, as much as possible, get customers in the way you did before. You onboard those customers the same way you did before. Now, if you were doing paper contracts before, maybe you need to mail those paper contracts or drop them off so that they would execute that document, and then return it to you, things like that. So, think about how you might take these principles and apply them to, our new temporary reality. So, someone else had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you definitely should check with your insurance carrier and perhaps even your attorney about any issues that you could run into. And what I'm thinking of is just being licensed if it's outside of your state specifically. So I think there are still licensing requirements, and that's probably more of a concern if you're if you're looking at DIY on a broader scale. Generally, you need to be licensed in every state that you are installing systems. But if you're looking at doing this to supplement or augment what you're currently doing and you're operating in the state that you're licensed, you are probably okay, but you definitely should check on that.
Yeah, it reminds me of a conversation I had with one of our customers yesterday where, as we shared these principles with them, they were like, this is actually really feasible. Could we do this outside of our borders? And I said, well, you probably could. You need to make sure you do it the right way. But the one thing I'd encourage you to do is do it on the small scale first. Try it out with a customer or two. Maybe you even want to give an incentive to one of your customers. Say, hey, we're trying something new. I tell you what, I'll give you an extra door window sensor if you're willing to take this self-install option instead, so we can have a chance to practice this and make sure it's working well for us, work out the bumps and the kinks and things like that. Maybe there's a little way that your customer can help be your, test market, and that they, I've got to be honest, every time I've asked to do something like that, I almost feel more invested in the system. Well, they trust my opinion, and I'm on the consulting board for that, that kind of thing. And it makes the customer feel good about their involvement in it. They feel like they've got some feedback in the process. They can help you and talk to you about, what worked well, what didn't work well, things like that. Enlist a couple of your customers in this. I think you'll find some great reactions out of them. So thank you very much for that question. Whitney, what other questions do we have that we should address today?
Matt wanted to know, how would you suggest pricing against your professional install model, your DIY model, or your DIT model?
Very good question, Matt. Thank you for asking it. My personal suggestion to you is you don't change it, because this is a professionally installed system. It will be in a few months. And, I think it would be very hard for you to say, well, I'm going to charge you less right now and then turn around and raise your rates when I come back and install a panel on the wall and do more cameras and things like that. I think that's unrealistic. I think the expectation here is I'm providing you with a convenience to keep your family safe. And I'm still intending on coming and doing everything I normally do. We're still monitoring you the same way. We're still going to do a full professional install. We're just delaying that professional install until it's safe for us to do so. So my personal encouragement is not to do it. Now, if those of you who think you can or should reduce rates or change your rates or have a different pricing structure for this, that you think maybe that will get you some more business, test it out, try it out, see what you can come up with, see if it works for your business model. But just be careful that you don't end up ruining the professional side of your business, with something that, you think might work for a short time, but then, doesn't have longevity. So, be very careful about that. But I personally think there's no reason to change your rates. Any other comments, questions on that one, or let's get to the next one? Next question, Whitney.
Okay. Eric wanted just clarification on, he wanted to know what the professional install component was to the white glove option, or I'm sorry, the light glove option versus the white glove option. He just wanted clarification again, what makes it a pro install versus just a self install?
Okay, well, let's look at that board right now. So remember, all of the blue section in that light glove section is stuff the consumer is doing. And in my scenario where I showed you that I installed my, I plugged in my panel and things like that, it's going to be sitting on a table stand, okay? It's going to be on my kitchen counter. The pro install part of that is twofold. Number one, it's being professionally monitored, okay? That was the point someone made just a moment ago. This is still professionally monitored. If this alarm goes off, the central station is going to call. They're going to make sure everything's okay. They're going to work to dispatch police or authorities in the appropriate manner. But the other thing to consider is, I don't want this on my table stand forever. I do still want it on my wall at some point. So the professional install is, I almost call it a promise to come back and get this table stand off, mount this on the wall where it belongs, and then come back and look at the other things that I might want to do. And while they're there, the technician might look at the install of my door window sensor and say, you did pretty good, but I'm going to make a little tweak here to make it perform a little better or ensure it works well. Oh, your motion sensor placement was good, but I would maybe recommend over here instead. And maybe they can move it at that point. Because it's command strips, it's easy to peel off, pull those command strips off, and then he can come back and put it in with a drill and screws, things like that. So I think, again, it comes with a promise of this is still a professional install. We can still do this for you, in 3, 6, however many months it needs to be when that happens. So great question. Thank you. Other questions?
I think we've answered them all. I think we're pretty much caught up. If you have any other questions, I can stay on the line for a little while, just chat them in and we'll be good to go.
Thank you, Whitney. Appreciate you fielding those. And the team has been feverishly answering all your questions in the background. So hopefully you got your answers that you wanted or needed. If you didn't, please chat in right now and they'll address those. And if not, you can always send an email to marketing@qolsys.com. You know, I personally just want to say thank you to all of you for joining today. We had an unprecedented number of people joining our webinar today. This is by far a record for us, and we really do appreciate all of you taking your time out of your day. Hopefully this was valuable for you. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know at marketing@qolsys.com. Remember also, you're going to receive an automatic email tomorrow with a recording of this webinar. It will also include a link to the video I'd mentioned about the Interlogix takeover we had that took 16 minutes. It will include a link to the document that you downloaded today. If for some reason that document didn't work well, you'll get access to that as well. And then, of course, if you have questions or need anything, you can reply right to that email, and we'll get you taken care of. So thank you very much for joining. And I want to express a special thank you to Kirk, Nate, Andy, and Adam for joining us today. Thank you so much for making this presentation even more robust, adding your insight to it. And a very, very special thank you to Kevin for getting all this stuff prepped for me so that I could show you how easy it is to install. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great week. And please, please stay safe out there.